We all love legendary weapons, right? These beautiful, shining, gleaming weapons of pure destruction and superiority. I love them. You love them. Dragon Master 2009 King XX over there loves them. But what do all these weapons actually do? Well, that's what I'm here to show you. My name's Theskj, and this is my legendary weapon showcase. Because this one's terribly outdated. The Frostwater Bow is one of those weapons that are more support than damage. By that I mean it has its own unique status effect. Of course, I'm not a moron, it hits like a fucking truck, but it's the effect you value most out of this weapon. First up, we have the basic attack of this weapon. It may seem like your standard arrow shot, much like from a magic bow. It does around 325 damage, but what some may not know is that you can actually shoot these arrows at the sea, and have about a 50-50 chance of creating an ice platform, making this one of, if not the best sea combat weapon. Giving yourself ground to stand on and regen stamina is the kind of utility that would make anyone tighten in their pants. Oh, shit, there they go. And next up, we have the Q, also called Frostwater Storm, an ability that sends a flurry of arrows, 20 arrows to be exact, much like the magic blunderbuss, that all deal 112 damage on hit. Hitting all of these result in around 2,240 damage. This ability is powerful damage-wise, but it's incredibly difficult to hit. You could call it a risk for reward move. And now, the meat of this weapon, the main course. The E ability has the unique effect of freeze, making your opponent unable to move for about 5 seconds, rendering them completely useless and allowing you to do more damage for seemingly free. Upon pressing this ability, you fire a giant frost arrow that explodes in a medium-sized area, deals around 700 damage, and forces your opponent into the previously mentioned freeze state. These two cute little daggers don't have any special effects, but it does have a quirk that is unique to it, and that is the fact that it doesn't use any magic power. This weapon exclusively uses stamina to use attacks, which means you have to worry less about your magic bar when fighting. We start again with the basic attack. You simply slice your opponent with the daggers, dealing around 225 damage each hit. There is one extra thing to this attack though. Every 5th slice you do with the daggers fires a small projectile in the direction you are facing. This projectile deals about 337 damage, but it usually doesn't come into play, mainly because how hard it is to aim. The Q ability of the daggers is what I like to call a pocket light ult. Upon using this ability, you will be frozen in place and charge up an attack, fire off a barrage of projectiles, and the amount varies on how long you charge the weapon. They all deal around 215 damage each. Hitting all of these projectiles result in 1,720 damage for simply tapping Q, and 3,225 damage for fully charging the Q. This move is pretty hard to hit, and is best used when your opponent uses something that forces them to stay in place for a long period of time. For example, ults, making this one of the best punish moves in the game against ult spatters. The final ability of this weapon, the E, fires off a huge cross slash that travels at a medium pace through the air. When it hits the ground, it creates a huge explosion that deals around 978 damage. Overall, a pretty good finisher when someone is low health, but anything else than that, it's really not. Probably one of the most famous legendary weapons, and rightfully so. This weapon is the Sword of Morock's Fire, infused with Promethean Flame, gives it the ability to cause every single burn damage that exists. This weapon is a pure damage, raw destruction. As always, we start with the basic attack of this weapon. It's a simple slash combo that deals 375 damage on every single hit. It has a good, decent chance to cause a significant amount of bleed. The only drawback of this powerful swing is the fact that it eats up your stamina really quickly. But I mean, come on. That sword is huge. What did you expect? 3 Promethean stars, the Q ability of the Morocks. Your character will enter a stance where they charge the sword for a split second, then unleashing 3 medium-sized white fireballs. One of these do 653 damage and cause Promethean burn. which means hitting all 3, which is by no means an easy thing to do, but if you do it, will do around 2000 damage. And yes, the burn effect does also stack, and it's impossible to remove with water. On a side note, an interesting thing about this move is the fact that fireballs explode on contact with water, making it a pretty good sea combat move. The E ability of this weapon is simple, yet also very different from anything else in the game. You charge the sword much like the Q, and a huge explosion will be released from where you are currently. Much like the arm move of your main magic, on hit it deals 750 damage and inflicts every single burn damage to exist. The burn effect also does an extra 750 damage from this one single move. Entering water will cancel out most of the burn effects, so try not to use this weapon by the sea too much, and try your best not to use this move where there are lots of trees and grass, because,
Throwing flashbang!
The fanciest of fancy weapons. This one doesn't even look like a weapon, but is simply a bracelet on your character's right arm, with the power of huge damage and annoying blindness. Now, this weapon doesn't have a basic attack, so we'll just skip right over it and move on to the Q move. This move has the luxury of doing the most base damage in the entire game. With a base damage of 1271, it will hurt. Your character enters a charge phase where the ornament gathers power and gets ready to fire. Then you have a decent window of time to charge the weapon even more or fire it immediately. Charging will make it do more damage, but not so much that it makes a huge difference. Upon unleashing the weapon, you fire a giant beam of light that explodes in a huge area on impact, dealing the previously mentioned damage and has a chance to blind the opponent with a blurry screen, as seen here. Although this move may already seem really powerful, the real strength of this weapon is the range. It's ridiculous. I mean, it can literally reach from Dawn's Refuge to Judgment Isle. You can attack your opponents without them even not being able to see you. Now, the E move doesn't do exactly what it used to do in Arcane Adventures, with launching them up into orbit and doing minimal damage. Now it does something similar, but only bounces you up and causes you to ragdoll and has a chance to blind. The move does around 901 damage. Honestly, not that great of a move, considering an R will basically give the same results. This weapon is sick! This weapon gives you something that is so scarce in Arcane, and that is movement. This weapon opens up hundreds and thousands of possibilities and gives you the power to make a few thousand corpses while you're at it. This weapon is a mean, clean killing machine. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you the edgy butter knife, the Durandal. Basic attack time. This attack is literally identical to the Morock basic attack, with a slight difference in stamina usage. That's it. The Q ability of this weapon is a form of leap attack. You charge the sword for a split second and then pounce forward to the targeted destination, dealing 634 damage in a large area. The damage may seem weaker, but it scales really well with gear. And one more thing. The one thing that makes this weapon cut above the rest is the fact that using the Q takes literally nothing to use. No stamina, no magic, nothing. Now, some players may use this strategically and choose specific moments to attack, while another player will just... It doesn't matter who is wrong and who's right. And finally, the E. Honestly, with how unique the Q move is, the E is kinda disappointing. You charge your attack for a split second, then unleash a spin move that simply does 752 damage, and nothing else. Although, one quick note about the Durandal is that it tells you when it goes off cooldown, which is extremely useful, but the whispers will drive you insane after using this weapon for a while. Christ, alright. This video, it was a lot of fun to make, I'll be honest. Honestly, I wish I could tell you when my next video is coming out, but honestly, I don't know. My upload schedule is way beyond saving, but I really hope I seem to do more. Like, it's so much fun, but
Honestly, I wish I could do like diverse content, but I just know that I don't have the skill to do it. I really wish to see more of you guys in the version 1 update. I really hope that AR will blow up with this next update. But only time will tell, eh? Well, that's it for me. My name's Theskj. Toodaloo.